Hello, everybody, and welcome to our second July installment of the Coaching Seat TV with Toyinda LaShea, where we're all about sitting in the seat of authority so that kingdom citizens can be infused with the power to unleash potential, dominate confidence, and leave a legacy. Now, this is accomplished through extracting limiting beliefs, interferences, and distractions. I am Toyinda LaShea, prophetess, a best-selling author, business consultant, master coach, and public speaker mentor. Additionally, I'm the creator of 3 programs: the Champion Influence Coach Certification Program, the Champion Influence Create Champion Conversations course, and the Coaching Seat Continuing Education Platform. And in our last installment, we talked about the Champion Influence Coach Certification Program, which was delivered in 2 formats. One is an online program and one is an in-seat program. It's an action-packed program that is interactive, and it teaches coaching skills and techniques so that our coaches can enter the coaching industry, become coaching leaders, or start a coaching business. The program truly does position individuals to transform their coachees through unlocking their potential using the SEATS model of coaching and leadership curriculum. In this installment, I'm so excited to have Coach Lester Young Jr. He is the director of Path to Redemption, and I'm so excited that he's joining me here in the studio of Dominion TV and on the Coaching Seat. So, Lester, welcome.
Thank you so kindly, Toy.
Thank
you for the invite. And
I'm so
I'm
excited.
excited as well. I'm really excited just thinking about when we first met. And
Yes.
here it is, fast forward, almost 2 years later,
Yes.
we're sitting here. So
Yes.
congrats.
Yes. And we met in a place where it was almost with microphones, right? It was the podcasting competition.
Yeah.
And your story, man, your story was amazing.
Yeah.
And we will have an opportunity to kind of get into that. And I want you to, speak candidly about your experiences. Let us know what type of impact you're making in the community. I'm really looking forward to getting into it. So let me just start off and say,
Let's do it.
who is Lester Young Jr.?
Lester Young Jr. today is a husband, a father, a son, brother, community organizer, a mentor, and a coach. Someone who wants to see people do well, overcome their challenges in life. So that's who Lester is today at 47 years old.
Wonderful. So I'm gonna go back to that. What are you doing in terms of your coaching and mentoring?
Just from my personal experience, being that I was incarcerated here in South Carolina for 22 years and 5 months.
Wow.
And getting out of prison during my incarceration, I realized that there was no one really speaking the language of those who were incarcerated.
Wow.
And then when I returned home from prison, I saw the same thing. You had programs, you had ministries, but no one was really speaking in that language. How do we help formerly incarcerated people find sense of self-dignity, sense of self-worth, and be able to create these winning effects, as you mentioned in the coaching program, is how do we help individuals create winning effects? Right. So I used all of my personal experience to begin mentoring and started coaching individuals and helping them win in the journey after incarceration as well as during their incarceration.
Right. So I heard you start to talk about the language of those who have been formerly incarcerated or who are incarcerated. What does that language sound like?
I mean, sometimes the language is, just like I like the word you just used, formerly incarcerated. Something just as simple as referring to us as people versus inmates. If you have a ministry and you're going in and saying, I'm ministering to a group of inmates, you're still using a dehumanizing language.
Wow.
You should always refer to us as people. We're ministering to people that are incarcerated. That adds more power, more dignity to the people. So, and understanding our story, understanding our background, like it's not about just giving you the gospel or whatever religion that may be that you intend to share, but it's about understanding where people come from. Hurt people hurt people. And I've seen during my incarceration that people would put a Band-Aid, use religion to put the Band-Aid on the individuals, and they don't never really do the step back and try to figure out. So that's what I mean, the language, knowing the prison environment, knowing what people experience, help them work through that, and then begin to uplift them through religious teachings.
Right. And see, and you're sharing some very important nuggets here, because I am a minister in training. I'm a prophetess, and my ministry is a deliverance ministry, which means that we are assisting individuals, and we use the term to kind of get free from hurt, pain. So we look at inner healing, rejection, just a lot of different things. And the first thing that I was taught to do was, come up and out. But, can I talk to the person? I need to get an understanding of what got you here.
Exactly. And that was the whole point of me sitting in prison for 22 years. I saw so many organizations, ministries come into the prison system, and it's like never really taking the time to get to know the people that you're serving and knowing their story. It's like, how do we get to know them? So that's where I came with the book, The 5 Stages of Incarceration.
Right.
I began looking and seeing the ineffective approach that some were taking, and I felt like I was being fulfilled, and they wasn't speaking my language, because there was so much other trauma, so much other brokenness that was in my past, that religion was something that I saw people practice for a year in prison. They'll get that religious high, and then they'll crash. And they'll crash as a result of not going back to some of the core issues that led to their incarceration.
Let's talk about that. Now, so just walk me, briefly through some of your past that have led up to you being incarcerated.
My biggest thing is that when I was in prison, before my incarceration, my mother died at 16 years old. I was 16 years old. And my mom's passed away at 16. We had an argument the night before she passed away, and I never went in to apologize to my moms. I never said, hey, Mom, I'm sorry for not washing the dishes. The morning I woke up with an attitude, left the house without even saying goodbye, not kissing my moms or anything. So fast forward 3 hours later that day, one of my cousins came and said, your mom's passed away, and here it is now. I'm like, I was 16, 3 sisters, my pops, my father, and trying to understand the whole thing about how do I process, the death of my mother, but also that I lost her before I even got a chance to say goodbye to her, right? So fast forward, I got in trouble when I was 17 years old. I got sentenced to a 90-day military boot camp program. Again, no one was looking to help me understand what that was. How do I grieve? I didn't know how to grieve. My father didn't show me how to grieve. My father has come from that culture where you just don't cry. You hold it in. So 17, I did complete the 90-day sentence, still broken, still hurt. Fast forward 18 months later, here it is now. I've shot and killed someone over a drug dispute, and now sentenced to life in prison. And fast forward, now I'm dealing.
So sentenced to life in prison.
Yeah, I was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 20 years. So now here it is, I am 19 years old, still dealing with the grief of my mother, and now I have to deal with the fact that I took another human being's life. And how do I deal with all of this? So for the first few years, that's why in the book it's called The First Stage of My Incarceration was denial. I was in denial about so many things that I turned into be a normal way of adjusting or just moving through life. But it was a period of my incarceration where I had to confront, one, the grief, that make some type of peace with the death of my mother. Two, make peace with my victim. And this is something that was really heavy for me, is how do I make peace with a person that I have taken off of this earth over a drug dispute? Wow. And it was so many different pieces that I had to address. So that's why I said we got to sometimes peel back and look at these individuals and help them heal. So that's where it started for me. 16 years old is my journey of living a state of brokenness for many years, and I healed, began that healing process inside of prison, serving life.
Yeah, that is huge. Now I know inside of your book you talk about the chaplains and how they kind of took you in and talked to you. So I want to hear a little bit, and we're probably not going to be able to finish all of it, but I know that you're coming back next week. But just tell me a little bit about your experiences with the chaplains. And you talked about this law of reciprocity.
Yeah, that's
yes. So just talk a little bit about
blessed. I was blessed in my journey of redemption. Is been blessed to have chaplains inside of the prison. Chaplains that saw me as a human being.
Wow.
They was there every day. They saw me as a human being, and they made the intentions and the effort to invest in me. My first chaplain was Chaplain Scotland. he gave me a book called As a Man Thinketh. And I'm 19 years old in prison, serving life, reading at a 7th grade level education. And he gave me this book. It was extremely intimidating.
Yeah.
But he literally forced me to read this book. He would have me come to his office every day until I finished this book. And I would have to read it to him. And there's just been that whole journey. And the law of reciprocity was something Chaplain Gerald Patoka taught me in prison. He took me inside of that prison, and he saw like, Lester, you have the ability to connect with these men. I'm going to make it possible for you to teach. So that's when I started. He gave me the entire chapel and said, teach these men. So I was teaching 200 to 300 men a day inside of a prison because of that. And that's when he told me about the law of reciprocity, that don't worry about what I don't have. Just continue to give what I do have, and it will come back to me when I need it the most.
So hold on. Don't worry about what I don't have, but give what I do have.
Yeah, like some people in prison, they worry about freedom. Like, here it is. I was still serving life. He said, even though you don't have freedom now, you have a voice. You have a message. Give that. And when the time comes, God will bless you with what you desire, and eventually I continued to do that for 7 years and went up for parole, and I was favored to be granted parole after 22 years.
My goodness, Lester, that is huge. I know when I first met you, you talked about how you wrote your vision out in prison. Yeah. We have a few minutes left. What made you write your vision out in prison? In 30 seconds, if you can sum it up in 30 seconds.
Go back again to the chaplain. He told me the power of vision, that if I have a vision for my life, write it down and chase it. And that's what I did.
That's good.
He said, write it and chase it, even though you're in prison, and create it. And that's what I did in prison. I created this book in prison. I created my organization in prison. The life that I have, I envision it every day of my life until God favored me out of prison.
Wow. So Lester, listen, we're going to wrap up this session, but I have really enjoyed spending this time talking to you about this first part of the journey. I'm so happy that you're joining me for the next 2 installments. I want to get into the book, but I also want to get a little more information about how you are working with this Band the Box. I've seen you on TV, and so I want to be able to go back to that, because you're doing some phenomenal work, and it really takes someone who is very confident in themselves and confident in what they can do to help bring people out, to help the formerly incarcerated become the best versions of themselves, even though. So I want to thank you all for joining us on the Coaching Seat TV with Toyinda LaShea. We have Lester Young Jr. here, and he's coming back to join us on our next installment. We will see you next week. Hey everybody, I want to invite you to a phenomenal virtual opportunity. My colleagues and I are hosting the Champion Coach Conference. This conference will take place on Saturday, June 27th, and it is virtual. I want you to check the link below. Welcome to the Coaching Seat TV with Toyinda LaShea, where we're all about sitting in our seat of authority so that the kingdom community can be infused with the power to dominate confidence, unleash potential, and leave a legacy. This is accomplished through extracting limiting beliefs, distractions, and interferences. I am so excited for the opportunity to be on Dominion TV with the powerful Dr. Dutton and Pastor Lynette Dutton. Make sure you download the app for Dominion TV, as well as catch this broadcast every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. I want you to share it with your community, your clients, and your customers.